Salim El Hassani, Birleşik Krallık Bilim, Teknoloji ve Medeniyet Vakfı'nın başkanı ve Manchester Üniversitesi Makine Mühendisliği Emekli Profesörü ve Beşeri Bilimler Bilim Kurulu üyesi. Bilimin kültürel kökleri ve mühendislik alanında uzmandır. En bilineni ve dünyaca ünlü olanı National Geographic tarafından yayınlanan, Arapça ve Türkçe'ye tercüme edilen Bin İcat, İslam Medeniyeti'nin Ebedi Mirası adlı kitap dahil 300'den fazla yayının yazarı ve editörüdür. İslam dünyasındaki bilimsel ve teknolojik başarılarını takdir etmek amacıyla İngiliz Bilim Derneği'ne üye olarak kabul edilmiştir. New York Bilim Topluluğu tarafından 2010'da Küresel Bilim Ödülü ile ödüllendirilmiştir. 2011 ve 2016 yılları arasında bilim ve teknoloji kategorisinde en etkili 500 Müslüman listesinde ismine yer verilmiştir. Salim El Hassani kongremizi özel misafirimiz olarak şereflendirmiştir. Özel yetenekliler için dengeli eğitimde yeni bir strateji.
Good morning, Marhaba. Thank you very much for inviting me. It is a great honor to be amongst you. I'd like to thank Dr. Community, TechDen, especially, all the team of TechDen and TUSDEM, all the people who have organized this conference, and the respectable guests who came from outside Turkey. I had traveled all the way from Manchester to come down here to present some new aspects of child education, which I thought may be useful, although we are not specialists in the subject of gifted children. The topic that I have chosen was to do with a strategy of how to introduce balance in the educational system, and with particular emphasis on gifted children. The title of the topics that I would like to address on this lecture are these mainly six titles. One of them is to look at this current STEM subjects, which are science, technology, engineering, and maths. And then we look at what is happening in there, and I call it 1,000 years missing. And then we will go and give some examples of some outstanding young people from Muslim civilization, which seem to be missing from the curriculum. And what is so special about the education of these people? What was different in those days than it is now? And can we learn any lessons from that? So this is the plan of my lecture. I hope we're going to have enough time to get this done, and then we go. We had, a few years ago, we collaborated with the British government to look at the curriculum, particularly of the STEM subjects, and under a project joint with the Curriculum Quality and Certificate Authority in the UK, to examine the cultural understanding of science. Because science is just, it appears everywhere, but, what about the social understanding? What kind of cultural aspects of science itself? Many people say science is neutral, it doesn't have value, and so on. And therefore, it was necessary, in order to promote science in the various communities, particularly in the communities who are new to Europe, we examined what is being taught in the curriculum of the STEM subjects. There was a very popular book which is typical. This is a popular book about scientists and inventors. And as you can read, it says the people who made technology from earliest times to the present day. Yeah? Are we okay in terms of language? Is there any problem in English? No? Okay, good. So this book is a big book, and it has 2 pages for each scientist. right? 2 pages for each scientist. If you go to page 14, we go to Archimedes. Page 14. And the next page is to describe his inventions. Now look at the time. This is before BC, right? And then next page, which is page 16, there's a huge jump to 1400. See the problem? This is Johannes Gutenberg, 1400. And the previous one was 1400 years before. There's nothing in between. That is typical in many of the subjects. And then they go into Leonardo da Vinci after that, and that's 1452. And after that, many other scientists and inventors that come in from the European Renaissance until the present day. Now, this problem here is in the slide. Archimedes, Johannes Gutenberg, and then Leonardo da Vinci. And you see the big difference in time. Nothing about anybody else, especially non-European. If we take the books, we examine the physics, the mathematics, chemistry, biology, right? And we examine the names of the laws and theorems and the names of scientists that are mentioned there. Like you start with Pythagoras, Archimedes, right? Galen, and then you jump. And after that, you look at names. They are all European and Western names. There's no mention. And I'd like you to examine your own books in Turkey. There's no mention of Chinese or Indian or Muslim civilization at all. Nope. Just European or Western names. Boyle's law, Hooke's law, Maxwell's law, right? Newton's law. That is a huge issue. So we discovered that. In fact, to summarize it, the summary is this, is that if you look at the beginning, and we have the Greeks, very little mentioned about the previous to the Greeks, about the Pharaoh in Egypt and Mesopotamia. And then after that, something about Roman, nothing until you reach the Renaissance. And therefore, we picked up some 600 names in that period who are brilliant, talented people. They must have all been gifted children who have contributed enormously to the lives that we have today. They're missing. They're not there. And in these different colors, there are women, and there are Christians, and there are Jews, and there are Zoroastrians and Sabians. They live in that period within the Islamic sort of civilization for about 1,000 years. They're missing. And if we use the Nobel Prize criterion, you'll find, I've just selected, these 40 of them, they are also missing. And there are women there. You have someone like called Sutaita al-Mahamli. She was a great mathematician in Baghdad. And you have Maryam al-Ajliya. She was an astronomer in Aleppo. And then there are Thabit ibn Qurra, who was a great mathematician, who was not a Muslim, but he was in Baghdad, in Darul Hikmah, in Baytul Hikmah, working at the time with the Muslim scholars. So this information, unfortunately, is missing. And what our foundation in the UK is proposed and started from that study, which we have found in the Cultural Understanding of Science program, we have set up a foundation to introduce the other civilizations and other cultures in this process. And we have developed educational programs, we have developed historical books, films, interactive exhibitions, and so on, around the world. I do not want to exaggerate, but because of the social media, and because these subjects are very rare, they seem to have been very well received throughout the world. we reach something like 300 million people. It's a huge subject, right? And recently we put an exhibition in China, in Beijing. For a short period, there was 1 million visitors interested in Al Hassan ibn al Haytham. We organized that with the UNESCO, one festival of science. So, it is related to the topic of the children's education, because we think that the absence of this subject causes a problem. On the one hand, young people, children who are educated in the West, they develop superiority complex because they think there's nobody else who made this present civilization. Right? Nobody. No Turk, no Indian, no Arab, no African, no South American, no Chinese. It's European. And so this, without thinking, it develops the science. They are science topics, but they cause a superiority complex indirectly, subliminal feeling. The same subjects, they are being taught elsewhere, like in Turkey. What do they produce? They introduce inferiority complex. Because the child, he learns the science, he learns the technology, but he knows it is from outside. It's from different people. They are from European and American people. So he or she, they do not possess shares, they don't have stakeholding in this science and in the technology. They don't feel it belongs to them. And it is the big powers who are the founders, who are the developers, who are the innovators of these topics. And therefore, there is some degree of inferiority complex. And this causes a problem in the character of young people, right? We will come to that later in a minute. So we know that Isaac Newton, he says that if I have seen more than others, it was because I was standing on the shoulders of giants. That's a nice sentence. Actually, it was not him who said it first. There was another person Isaac Newton borrowed from, and that person is called Bernard of Chartres. He has drawn that, and this on the left-hand side, it is in Latin, but Isaac Newton has used it in the 18th century, and it is a very interesting subject. If you ask your students in the classroom and say, who are these giants that Newton say he was standing on? They have to go and study and find out, who are these giants? They only will find maybe only Copernicus. But what about many others? Then they will discover many people from different cultures, not only from Europe, but also from the rest of the world. Now, they will discover that actually he has been aware of the work of Al Hassan ibn al Haytham about 1,000 years ago. Al Hassan ibn al Haytham was in Iraq, and he was born in Al-Basra, and he has revolutionized the science of physics of the eye and seeing and the use of spectacles and so on. And then later on, the dark room, which is called Al-Bayt al-Muslim, it was translated to camera obscura, and then it became the subject. There are many subjects I am not going to detail, but each of these subjects and each of these people, they had talented children. They were talented, brilliant children who brought up and were provided with some environment, and they became huge in their sciences and in their knowledge. In fact, many of them were called polymaths, because they not only know about their own physics subjects, they also know about other subjects as well. They were called polymaths, right? And so this here you have in chemistry like Al-Razi, you have Ibn al-Awwam and so on about botany, and Ibn al-Nafis in medicine. He discovered how the blood circulates in the upper part. It's called the pulmonary circulation. Then you have a great guy like Ibn Sina, Avicenna in European, Ibn Sina in Turkish or Arabic. Yeah, He has a number of books. One of the books, huge volume on medicine, it's called Qanun al-Tib. Al-Qanun stayed in Europe 350 years as a textbook. The interesting thing that many people don't know about, he wrote Al-Qanun again. 2 Al-Qanun. The second Al-Qanun is written in poetry. Poetry, in Urjuza. They use Urjuza, they use rhythm in writing so that the students memorize. You memorize. And also that the information stays the same. It's like computer software. You know, the poetry carries the information with rhythm. So the information is inside the poetry. And therefore, you cannot change it. You cannot change it. You cannot distort, like software program. This is how you find the medical books written in Urjuza, in poetry. There are chemistry books written in Urjuza, mathematics books written in Urjuza. Imagine if you have to write science now, and you want to publish a paper, you write it in a poetry form. This is incredible, isn't it? But the secret, I will tell you why it was so easy for them. And that is, I think, what's so special about the education of these children in those years. And we need to understand, because they were handling human beings, they were handling the brain, they were handling children. So what was it so different, right, between those days and in our days? And how can we make use of their experience, right, and to make advantage? So they contributed a great deal in surgery of animals, of human beings, marine life, birds. You know, in terms of birds, they used to look after birds a great deal because the birds were the communication network, postal system. Postal system was done by birds. But when you would send a message with a bird, you send it with a letter inside on the leg. But this letter is coded. It is shifra, right? So you learn the trick of shifra working. And there is also a development of science which is decoding. So there's coding and decoding, right? And the science of decoding was established by Al-Kindi, a brilliant guy. You know, he must have been started about the age of 7. And you know, his method of decoding was used in the Second World War to decode the Enigma machine that helped the winning of the war. It's called the frequency method, and that was Al-Kindi's method. Anyway, let's move quickly. So they have also produced brilliant ideas, and if those days they were patenting, each of these young people would have become like huge millionaires, you know, like the guys who have established an Apple computer and soft, you know, the Microsoft people and so on. These people, if they have concentrated on money and hold the science and the knowledge and register in the inventions by patenting, they would be owning the whole world. But they didn't do that. So this manuscript here, it shows how they join one tree and another tree, make multiple transplantation, like genetic engineering, to produce a new generation of plants. Brilliant. The whole book is about this, and it was in Andalusia, in Spain. Ibn al-Awwam, he has produced a bundle of grapes, yeah, multicolor, not a single color, multicolor grapes by using this technique. Right, let's move quickly. In gardening and so on, and of course, as you know, tulip, which is now the main product in Holland, was developed from here, from Turkey. There's a great Turk. He is originally from Hungary, called Ali Majar. This guy is just unbelievable. You know, the way he collected the maps of the world and the collected information and the method of joining them, and produced a map of the world. And as you see, it is in 1567. And this map here on the bottom is his map of the world. The top map is a satellite image of the Earth. Can you imagine? Has this person been sitting in the moon when he drew this? It is not easy to do that kind of work. It requires enormous amount of information to produce such maps. And then we come to the people who have worked on paper and pen. The fountain pen that we use with the ink is a very clever machine, very clever. And it was invented by another brilliant person. The Caliph, of Egypt, he said, I don't like to use this ink pot, and then each time I write, I don't want ink pot. I want the ink inside, right? And they try, like a competition. They try, some of them, because when you put ink inside, it comes out. It doesn't stay. And when you start writing, then it makes big problem. They invented one that works on osmosis. Capillary and osmosis. Somebody thought, how does the water go in the tree from the base from the root? It goes many meters high to the top of the tree. How does this water go from there to there? There's no pump. There's no heart. How does it go up there? Right? And, it's a brilliant idea, isn't it? So then they come out with this ink. So there have been a lot of inventions. Also, the conversion of paper and pulp. They learned the making of paper from China. Then later they make machines how to beat the pulp and produce thin paper, and made a big revolution in books at that time. So, music, the writing of music. The writing of music. This, if most of you know the musical scales, it's fa, sol, la, do, re, mi, la, fa, sol, la, si. In Arabic, do, dal, ra, fa, sad, lam, sin. Right? This is Arabic. And the great author and writer is Al-Kindi. He was a coding man. He likes to also write about music, and Al-Kindi. And of course, you here in Turkey and Istanbul, you all know about Sinan. Sinan, he was a young boy. He was brought up. He was, I think, a very talented, specially gifted child. He was brought up by the sultans. And he was brought up and looked after. And he became one of the most brilliant architects the whole world has ever seen. And he has been famous to design for earthquake resistance. He designed for environmentally friendly, no pollution. And he designed for minimum consumption, least amount of consumption of water and energy. And he also designed for acoustic engineering. If you stand in some of these mosques that he built, and you go to the mihrab, and you speak, the last person will hear. Because in the walls around, built inside magnifiers, they are like big bottles. Big bottles inside, you don't see them. They are inside the wall. They are like a big bottle, like this one. And as the sound goes in there, it resonates inside, and then it comes out. That's the loudspeaker system. This was Sinan, and really is incredible. How was it that people like that are missing from our educational system? Then you get people who established huge institutions, like the university. The earliest university in history, which is still alive, is the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in the city of Fas and Fez in Morocco. It was originally built as a mosque and madrasa by Fatima al-Fihriya. She was a young, brilliant girl of 20. She inherited money from her family. And then she decided that she must build educational establishment inside this mosque. Her sister built an ordinary masjid, ordinary jami', but she built that one. And this is really incredible. She has to be remembered. Every lady in the world, they should celebrate her, right? This is an incredible lady. Not only given her money, she supervised the project management of the building. And she said she does not want any material from outside the land. Everything of that building was made from the land, from the same land. Water, wood, bricks, right? And she project managed it. When she inaugurated the building, when we start the project, she started Bismillah, and she fasted, fast, every day until the end of the project. And they say the project continued for 13 years, every day fasting, because she said this is fi sabilillah. No wonder that university is still alive from the year 859 until now. You can go and visit it if you like. So these are not ordinary people, right? They have to be recognized. The other one is, I heard some of you have gone to Mecca by land. They go via Baghdad. I think maybe Dr. Kamal had gone to Baghdad and then Mecca by road. Yeah? Was it you? By road. If you go by road, it's a long way. You will find along the way there are service stations like Han, like hotels. And they have water. They dig water for the musafir to go to Mecca. In those days, it was camels. The lady who has built that road from Baghdad all the way to Mecca was Zubaydah bin Ja'far bin Mansur. She was the wife of Harun al-Rashid. They had big problem, wife and husband, because she take all the money for this road. If you go now into Jordan, this place is still there. And she went and established them. And she project managed. She was in charge of planning, project, visiting, going there and so on, make sure it is all built. Right. Speaking about inventions. This is a clock. And this clock was a gift from her husband, Harun al-Rashid. He was the Caliph of Baghdad, to Charlemagne, the Holy Emperor of Europe at that time, 1,000 years ago. Look at this sophisticated technology. It was sent to Aachen. And now we want to know who built it. We don't know who built it. But it was available technology at that time. So there was a lot of interest in inventions. At that time, when this machine arrived in Aachen Cathedral, it was, he thought there was genies inside, jinn. They were scared from, but this is because it's making sound, making movements, and coming out with horses. It was very complicated and frightening. But he also sent him to make peace, elephant, small, young elephant, live elephant. The color of the elephant was white. And the name of the elephant was Abu al-Abbas. Now, Charlemagne used to take Abu al-Abbas everywhere where he goes. Like, pet, like a dog, yeah, but it is elephant. He called him Abu al-Abbas. When Abu al-Abbas fell ill, he had pneumonia, he died. When Abu al-Abbas died, Charlemagne made royal funeral. So it's just interesting how these things... At the time of Harun al-Rashid, there was 3 children. They were called the sons of Musa, Banu Musa bin Shakir. They were 3 brilliant, outstanding children. They were interested in science, in mathematics and so on. One of them was interested in technology and inventions. This fountain you see it is changing color, it's changing shape. How can you change shape, right, of a fountain? We discover that under the fountain is this mechanism. And this mechanism divides the water from one nozzle to another nozzle to another nozzle, all put together, and they will appear as if it is changing. But inside there is worm and wheel, which is the secret of industrial machinery at that time. Right? So there is this. They also built animal feeding machine, automatic. This machine, animal comes and it drinks, it opens the lid, automatic. By pressing on the animal comes to the step on the foot, it opens the lid, and then the animal take water, but the water level stays the same. It does not go down, because more water will come. It remembers, like a computer. But if a big mouth comes, like cow or camel or big horse, takes too much water, it stops. It knows that it's right. It's very clever. All hydraulic computer system. Then we go to a favorite of mine. I have done a lot of work on a man called Al-Jazari. Yeah? Al-Jazari is in the south of Turkey, from Al Jazeera, the north of Iraq, north of Syria, and near Diyarbakir and Jizra. He's south of Turkey now. This brilliant man, he has been asked by the governor at the time from the Artuk tribe, and he asked him, he says, look, you are a very brilliant person and you make machines and so on. You should write in the book. He wrote this book, and we examined this book, and what we did, we analyzed this book and find out how each of these machines, he described how it works. We converted into engineering drawing, of modern engineering drawing, and then we manufactured 3D animation, three-dimensional, so that you can see, like this. As you see here, he has converted rotary motion into linear motion. This is a brilliant discovery. It is fantastic to turn circle to become linear. Afterward, he has connected them together. He makes them together so that they are controlled engineering using different gears. That's another invention. He has also made this. Double acting piston. The other thing that he made, which is another brilliant, he made a clock like this one. It is called elephant clock. It is feel, elephant clock. But why make a clock look like an elephant like this? It's interesting. Why does he do that? See, in there on the top, this is phoenix, which is the symbol of the Egyptian civilization. Egypt, Misr. This here is Chinese dragon, Chinese civilization. And elephant is Indian, carpet, Persian and Afghanistan. Robot, Muslim, right? Inside elephant is hydraulic. There is Greek. So we have also done some work and tried to analyze how it actually works so that people can use it in the schools, in the laboratory, and make film out of this, right? And so on. But the interesting thing about this, Al-Jazari, this young man, he wanted to recognize the contribution of other cultures. He could have said, if he was a nationalist, he would say Turkish, right? And he does not mention anybody else. But he wanted to mention other people. So I'm afraid we can learn from his behavior for intercultural relationship. We have to recognize other not only European in the other one here, which is, it's a brilliant thing. You know, when people in that time, they like to preserve water. You don't make water open and then the water keep running while you are making wudu abdes. So he invented this machine, small machine. You bring it to the guest. This guest will hit the nose of the peacock, taus. Then the taus starts coming down, give water, and then goes back. Then goes again, gives you water. It remembers how many times you need. And then when it finishes, it turns around and gives you a towel, hawlu. Bashkir, hawlu, right? That's a brilliant thing. It saves water, respect to the guest, and it's nice looking. The inside mechanism, this is where the talent comes in. Inside is this mechanism, right? I will not go into the mechanics details, but this is here for those of you who are interested in mechanics and engineering and physics, mathematics, control. You can do this in the schools and in your universities as well. Also another one, this is an alarm clock, alarm, working on water. You can change the time between one music sound to another music sound. I did it quickly so that you can see. But it's again a brilliant discovery and design. Then he has the castle clock, some fantastic mechanisms that he's got there. And one of them is this timing machine. Time, you know, it clicks. When you fill this, then it goes down. It's like 1 minute every time, and then it turns. You see, right and the left on the bottom, these are turbines, right? And these turbines, they make musicians work. See this music? They play, and this is all controlled like mechanical computer control. Yeah. And this can be studied properly by our gifted children today. They can make and they can improve and so on and make analysis. You know, this is why I thought I should. The next person who is really brilliant and unfortunately not much known, his name is Taqiyuddin al-Rasid. This is from a picture from his manuscript. Taqiyuddin al-Rasid was in Istanbul. And this is his observatory. In the observatory, on the right-hand side, you find there is a clock. And this clock runs on mechanical, not water. The other machine that he has developed is this multiple piston. This is like a car, like today's car. Very similar, 6-cylinder engine. Very similar. Right? Unfortunately, many people do not recognize that, and it is not in the educational system, especially in Turkey. Right? You see, when young children, when they see this, and this is their grandfather Taqiyuddin, they will feel empowered. They think, oh, mashallah, he has done, I can do also. Right? And then they will try to find out, why did he do? What was the purpose? Why did they do all this work? This is the mechanical clock of Taqiyuddin. Brilliant, you know. But maybe he has learned it at his time from the Europeans. He also developed, as we know, the first steam turbine. This is Taqiyuddin al-Rasid. This steam turbine, it is hot water, steam comes out, and then there is this turbine runs. We cannot find anybody before him who did that. There is a Greek one, a Hellenic one in Alexandria, but that was different. The steam goes inside the propeller. It's like jet propulsion. That's different. This one is external stream, and then it turns. This is steam turbine. Right. Well, of course, you know about Hazar Fan Ahmed Shalabi, and again, young man, challenging. He wants to cross. He wants to use the technology that Abbas ibn Farnas before him in Andalus. He flew using glider system, fixed wing, not like that. It does not work like this. It must be a fixed wing, otherwise arm cannot. And then the guiding can be done by the feet, by the tail, and so on. Now, some people say this did not happen in Bosphorus. We rely on what is written. and what we see in the books. Another one in there, he was also a brilliant guy. He has used rocket technology, gunpowder, pyrotechnic material, and he flew. He went into the sky, and there was, I think it was Sultan Murad, the marriage of his daughter celebration, and Lagari Hassan Chalabi, he wanted to entertain people, and he put this rocket on his back, and he shot it onto the top, went to the sky, and came back to...
The last 2 minutes and then questions.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Right. Well, what was so special about those? What is so special about this education? What happened in those days that produces such people? This is a very important subject, really, that one needs to examine. I think they have been influenced by some aspects of what Islam says about education. There is a principle in Islam that every infant, كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. Every infant is nearly the same. Al-fitra, right? They are, but his family and society, they change him into Jewish, into Christian, into Zoroastrian, and so on. This is a very important principle which has happened. They treat the child as natural instinct, fitra. And then the next thing that we find, from the age of 3 to the age of 6, they teach them Quran, reading. They finish the whole Quran, right? The Quran has 77,934 words. Imagine between 3 to 6 years, you have a vocabulary of 77,000 words. This is incredible, right? And also they give you see, this is why it's not surprising. You get Ibn Sina, by the age of 9, he has memorized the Quran, memorized. Then by the age of 12, he has memorized the whole hadith. Such people, no wonder they are so encyclopedic in their way, because they have got a power of the language and the power of absorption, and all the neuro system in their brains is fully functional, fully expanded from early childhood. But there was a concept that is unfortunately also missing from here nowadays, and that is that there is a balance between mind, body, and soul. They must work together. You don't only work on the mind, you must also work on the body, in exercise and health and so on, and also work on the soul. So in Riyada, the word Arabic Riyada is Riyadiyat for mathematics, Riyadiyat called. Mathematics in Arabic called Riyadiyat, which is the exercise of the mind. The body, it's called Riyada, for the body. And for the ruh, it is also Riyadatul Ruh, Riyadatul Ruh, Riyadatul Nafs. You exercise the soul, you exercise the spirit. So,
Time for the questions.
yes, now I need to get this through, and then I'll... So there is also something else about uniqueness of education. In those days, you find that they concentrate on a balance between selfishness and selflessness. Balance between the two. Between competitive, right, and compassion. This must be balanced. You cannot have just competitive, and you become like a wolf. No care for the society, no care for the others. And the other one is a balance between spendthrift and wasteful. The other balance is between individualistic behavior and cooperative behavior. Sensitivity to the environment and callous towards the environment. These were actually concepts that I thought maybe we could mention about mizan, the concept of justice, the concept of useful deed, amal salih. I've mentioned to you that we have done a lot of work, and we have reached 300 million 300 million people. We've come to Istanbul 6 years ago in Sultan Ahmed. I think some of you may have been. Many children, they get excited when they see this. They get very proud, even heads of states. We've tried this method of introducing balance in the curriculum in some Syrian refugee schools here in Istanbul. Some of the children, before they want to commit suicide because they think the world has forgotten about them. They don't like to live. We decided we must work with them through a waqf here, and we worked with these 7 schools in Istanbul. And believe me, when we introduced this kind of material to them, right, these are the resources and some of the handwork and so on. This girl has made the whole elephant clock herself, very proud. Instead of feeling down and feeling downtrodden and bad, they feel very optimistic. They like to read about science. They want to learn about physics. They want to learn about chemistry. It's fully transferred from, so the impact of this is really very, very exciting, okay? And they have made big exhibition in Fatih. It was attended by 2 daughters of Recep Tayyip Erdogan, right? And the mayor of Fatih. They attended this. This is their work. These children, these are refugee children. They want to die. And then they now are fully transformed completely because of this idea of making them feel this science and technology also belong to them, not only European. Their fathers have founded these sciences. This is the idea. And then they get to work. Okay, thank you very much. I hope that you have...
If there are some questions.